Hello Mark, I'm Mary Chen Yinjun. My student number is 47.
Hello, Mark. I'm Teresa Ding Tingfang. My student number is 29.
Hello Mark, I'm Anne Huang Shiting and my student number is 39.
Hello Mark, I'm Michaela Li Yingmi. My student number is 43.
Okay, so we're going to discuss some questions about Louis Theroux's LA Stories Among Sex Offenders.
Okay, so now let's begin our first question. Do you think a sex offender deserves a second chance? Why or why not? So Teresa.
Okay. Yes, I do think they deserve a second chance because because I think if they truly feel wrong about their misbehavior, yes, and they are willing to turn over a new leaf, so they deserve a second chance.
Okay, in my opinion, I think that a sex offender, whether or not a sex offender deserves a second chance, is based on his or her attitude. It means that if he or she wants to, like Teresa says, if he or she wants to turn over a new leaf, and then I think that we should give them a second chance, and if we give them a second chance, I think it will do better to our whole society. Yes. Okay. Next. Yeah.
I think some people they will want to change. Yeah. So I think they deserve a second chance. Because I think not everybody is bad. So we can decide their life. They have their own lives. We can because they do some bad things. So we to restrict their life. I think it's unfair to some people. Maybe some people just commit a crime, but they are not.
They are regrets for what they have done.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so as for me, I think they deserve a second chance because they did not kill any people. They just have the sex with the wrong person or the wrong people. So I think if they know what they did, they know they did the wrong things and they have regretted it. So I think it would be appropriate to give them a second chance. Okay. And next question. Do you agree that the practice of putting all of the sex offenders' information online?
Yes, I agree that we can put, the government can put some information about the sex offenders, but actually I don't like what Mark shows us on the internet. Their personal information, almost all of their personal information are shown online, but some of them are pretty private. So I think it's unfair to show some private personal information online, but it would be okay if simply showing the information like what crime they have committed and like how dangerous they are. But some personal information should be kept secret. Yes.
Okay. As to me, I think that actually I'm not quite agree that the practice of putting all of the sex offenders information online, because I think it's like kind of quite not fair to those sex offenders, because I think although they have done something wrong, but I think they are just humans. They don't have to, be revealed their information online. I think it violates their private information. Yes, and I think we should somehow keep their personal information private, although he or she has done something wrong. Yes, and that's all my opinion. Okay, lah.
Actually, my thought is similar to Teresa's. I agree with her. I think everybody should have their private information, so their private. So I'm not against the
Practice.
Yeah, I'm not against the practice, because I think everyone may afraid the children or people will be offended by those people, so they can search the information online.
And as for me, I think it would be okay to put the most information, because I think that offend other people first. So we just put their information on the internet. So if my children was offended by these sex offenders, then I will hate them very much. So I want other children will not be the next and victims. Yes. So I want the government to show the offenders information on the internet. So I think this might help them to protect their children.
Okay.
And next question: if you live in the USA in the future, will you check the sex offender list? Lisa.
Okay, I go first.
Okay.
If I live in the USA in the future, I think sometimes I will check the sex offender list, because if I want to live in a city, in a big city like New York City, I think the order of the society might have some bad people. So I think I will occasionally check the sex offender list to check that whether my new house will have some bad people.
Strange neighbors.
Yeah, strange neighbors. I have to worry about my safety. Yes. So I think I will occasionally check the sex offender list, but I won't always check the sex offender list because it's too scary. Okay.
You become suspicious all the time.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I agree with Anne. Yeah, if I live in the States, but I won't like suspicious all the time and checking the list all the time, because that will make me so. It's always
So worrisome.
Yeah. I don't want to make myself being suspicious all the time. Yeah, and so I would check the list only when I find somebody weird. Or yeah.
Me too.
Like acting weird or something, then of course I have a right, and it's public online, so of course I will check it out whether the weird person fits the picture on the internet or not. I only check the list when this happens.
Because I think the list have many people. I can recognize many.
Then,
I
yeah.
can recognize them. So I will not. I won't check the list. Hold the list all the time. So I think if I meet somebody's change, I will check.
You will
check
check
the
the
list.
list.
Yeah.
When I saw somebody
Acting
mention-
weird,
yeah.
acting weird.
Yeah, so-
How about Mary?
Uh, before watching this video, I didn't know anything about the list. But after watching this video, I think I will not check the list very often. But if I live in America and I want to find a husband, I will. Because just like you said, we want to avoid the sex offenders.
Yeah.
But but here comes the problem. Some people look strange, but the list need to search for their names. So we also have to know their names first.
Oh.
So I think maybe some people is strange, but actually he is very kind. Otherwise, some people is formal, but actually he is weird.
Yeah, we are in mind.
Yeah, so we have to be
Yeah.
be careful.
Okay. So let's go to the next questions. Do you think it is necessary to restrict, like Amy, the teacher, sex offender, that she cannot see her children based on her records? Sorry,
Past
past records. Sorry, past records. Yeah.
I think, as to me, I think it is not quite necessary to restrict that Amy cannot see her children based on her past records. Sorry, because I think she's just a mother. So even though she has done something wrong in the past, but I think that she from the video, I think she loves her children. So I think she won't do something bad to her children. So I think she just wants to see her children. So why not just let her see her children? And maybe when she saw her children, maybe she will recognize what she has done is wrong in the past is wrong. I think. Yes, that's my thoughts. So how about others?
I think that Amy cannot see her children is too limited to her. To her life. I don't know how to say. It's
Restricted too much to her life.
Oh,
Yeah.
restrict too much.
Because I think that it must depends on her children whether they want to see her mother.
Oh.
We can judge that Amy do those things so that their children can see her, but maybe their children can forgive her mother.
Oh.
Mm.
I think that's a good idea.
I think it's not dangerous for their children to see their mother. So I think I disagree that Amy cannot see her children.
Yeah.
How about others, Mary?
I think Amy, maybe Amy can see her children once in a month. And if someone worries the safety of the children, maybe they can send the police to stand near them in order not to let Amy do the wrong thing. But because I think Amy is a mother and her children is growing up, so her children needs her mother's company during their life. So I think the penalties for Amy is also the penalty to her children. So maybe they can have a chance to, maybe one day, they can chat with each other and share some new or interesting things with them.
Yeah, I also disagree that Amy cannot see her children. But I think this comes to a problem that the United States start to classify all the sex offenders who have committed crime and towards the younger children to pedophile. Yeah, they just think that, oh, you have sex with children that hasn't grown up, then you are the pedophile. So they restrict that Amy shouldn't have her children, her own children's pictures, and she shouldn't have any magazines that have pictures of children on them. But she's actually not a pedophile. She's just a mother. Yeah, she's a mother. She loves her children, and she also said that because her husband is far away, yeah, and she feels lonely and she's lack of love, and that's why she has some indecent relationship with a younger child. Yeah, not because she's a pedophile. Yeah, so I think that the restriction should be based on whether they are the seriousness of their misbehavior. Like, if somebody is truly a pedophile, there must be a lot of restrictions on he or she. But if, like Amy, she's actually not a pedophile, she's just lonely and find a younger person, then the government should let her to see her children. She can have her children's picture. They should treat her more like a person instead of a criminal that is very dangerous. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next question. What do you think about the decree that a sex offender cannot live too close to the school or the park?
Okay, as to me, I think that the decree that a sex offender cannot live too close to the school or the park. I think the decree, the initial intention is kind, but in the reality, it makes that the sex offender they become homeless. They are wandering in the streets because people will think that if we build a school or build a park, we won't have the sex offenders live too close to our neighborhood. So if we build the schools or the parks, we won't have them too close to the school, and that means that the sex offender cannot live near this area, so they will become homeless. And when they become homeless, I think that's the problem. Yes, because children like to wander on the streets, and when a sex offender is homeless, every children is their target. Yeah, it's their target. Yes. Okay, who wants to express? How about Mary?
I think the sex offender cannot live too close to the school because children is too young to know the dangers around them. So if the sex offender just live next to the school, then I will consider whether I should let my children to go to that school or not, because I will worry about my children's safety. But about the park, I think a sex offender maybe can live near the park, because park is not only for children but for the adults, and maybe the offenders need to not. I think they don't want to stay in the house all day long. Maybe they need to work out for a little while, and I think park is not a bad choice. Park is quite good. So I think school is not appropriate, but the park is okay.
How about Teresa?
I think it's the same, that too many laws are being set up. Many people set the law with the direct thought, like, oh, okay, so we don't want the sex offender to get contact with children, so we have to keep them away from the school or the park, right? But the result is like what Anne said. When they ended up on the street, then children are dangerous. So, in my opinion, there is a better way to find a place for them instead of just keep them away.
Oh.
Yeah. Because they are sort of like criminals going out of the jail, and hard to find a job, hard to find a place to live. So it will make their life will be more miserable if they just don't have a place to live. So it will be better to find a place for them instead of setting a law to keep them away all the time.
How about you, Michaela?
I also think that the government can set an area for the sex offender to live, because I think that the children can go anywhere. We don't know when the children will meet those sex offenders, or they don't know whom are sex offenders.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that degree is not very good.
So so do you agree with what I said? If you find a place for them to live, you will like keep track of where they are, instead of push them away and you don't know where they are right now. They're wandering on the street, you don't know where they are.
Because you don't know who will be the sex
Yeah.
offender.
Yeah, but if you find a place for them to live, of course they just came out of the jail and they have no place to live. They can only live in the place that you find for them. So they will keep in that area, and you will keep track of them.
And I think that not the school and park will be a dangerous place for children. If a sex offender are near, because I think that sex offender can commit the things anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I thought about. So even you keep them away from the park or the school, they cannot leave around the park or the school. They can just walk out the place they live and walk a long way or take the yeah.
And you also respect them as a human, because nowadays we promote humanity
all the time.
Yeah. So we also should respect them as a humanity. As
a
a
human,
human,
yes.
as a human.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so the next question. In the documentary, many sex offenders came across family issues like affair or domestic abuse. do you think there is a link between their misbehavior and their unfortunate experience?
I I think there's a link between their misbehavior and their unfortunate experience, because I think families will influence their children deeply. Like I in the video, one person I was very impressed by one person who was interviewed in the park. In the car park.
Parking
lot.
lots.
Parking lot.
Oh.
Yeah. He what's the host name?
Louis
Louis Theroux asked him some questions about his family. And he said he was
beaten by his
Yeah.
father, and her mother just
comfort him.
comforts him.
yeah.
on the other cheek.
I think he has a miserable childhood, so it influenced him to do
Such
such
things.
things. And he even when he recall his families, he cried. I feel
Sad for him.
Yeah, I feel sad for him. So I think that there's a link between their behavior and their unfortunate experience.
Also, I agree with you. I think there is a link between their misbehavior and their unfortunate experience, because that I think every human, when you are born, is not you are not born with a bad character. Yes, you become bad. That's I think there's some reasons that makes you become bad. So maybe it's the reason of your family or the reason of your friends. But I think they done something bad is based on the environment. So maybe it's the family and the friends. So maybe we can connect it, the misbehavior with their unfortunate past experiences. Yes. So I agree with Michaela. How about Mary?
I also agree with Michaela because just like the person who was hit by his father on the left face, and her mother also comforted him on the right face. So when he was little, he was so confused. Then is it right? Is it a comfort?
Or is a punishment?
Yeah, or it's a punishment. So when he was little, he was confused, and I think he was not really beloved by his family. So he cannot get the real care from his parents. So I think maybe he needs love. So he wants to seek for love.
Yeah.
And he went out and find a female and have a sex with them. So maybe it's a family factors that affect him to do these wrong things.
Maybe he just want to cure his mind.
Yeah, he was hurt by his family.
Yeah, so I also agree with all of you. Yeah, there's definitely a link between some sex offenders with family issues, and those issues leads to their misbehaviors, because when people, their lack of love, so many sex offenders, they are actually not like pedophiles or like serial rapers like that. They're not that bad. They just do the wrong things because of like a moment of impulse. They like like what Mikhail said, the supervisor in the interview in the car, he raped his sons actually. Yeah, but what he did is because he found out that his wife had an affair. Yeah, and he made him so angry, and he did this kind of wrong thing. But you can see that in his whole life, he's not acting weird, or he doesn't have mental problem. But the cause of this behavior is because of the family issues. Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay. Let's continue. And do you think in the video? Do you think that it is necessary to have those sex offenders wear the electronic trackers on their feet, because the government wants to check where they are? Yes. So does anyone want to express some opinions?
I think it is necessary to let them wear the checkers, because once they don't wear checkers, they will go on the streets, and when you meet them, you will not know who he is or who she is. So you will just treat him like normal people, but you don't know how dangerous it is. So I think if they wear the checkers, maybe the government will know where they are now, and they will check them once they leave the house. So they will come to the place and catch him back.
Arrest him.
Arrest him.
Okay. I think at some extent it is necessary. Yeah. But I was wondering, those who are homeless and they are left, they can only wander on streets, right? Like
Yes,
the one homeless sex offenders, because you see in the video that they have to charge their checkers like an hour, or how long a day?
Hour, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I was wondering, those who only can end it up on the street, how can they charge their checkers? Are they
Maybe
not
I
wearing
think
their
the law-
checkers anymore?
Maybe I think the law is not ineffective.
That effective?
Yeah, not effective. It doesn't work efficiently. Yes, I think, because some of them maybe they have their trackers on the feet. Some of them they didn't just ignore the law, but they didn't like Mary said, they didn't arrest those sex offenders immediately. I think law doesn't work efficiently. So
Yeah.
But maybe the checkers have GPS.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they will know where they are.
Oh,
But you must have electricity to make it work, to locate the place. Yeah. So I think this doesn't work on those who are wandering on streets, because they don't have place to charge their electronic trackers. Yeah. So at some extent it will be okay to track them, but I don't know how they can do with those wandering streets. Yeah.
How about Kayla?
I think it's necessary. Yeah, to have those sex offenders wear the trackers, because we want to know where they go, and if they did some bad things, we can find them immediately. Yeah. So I think it's necessary.
Okay. Oh, not Oko. Okay, sorry. My pronunciation. Okay, as to me, I think it is also necessary based on what Mary have said. Yes, and In the video, the supervisor has to monitor all the sex offenders. Do you think that it is suitable for a person who committed the crime before to be a supervisor? Do you think that it is appropriate?
I think it's a dilemma.
Dilemma.
Because if we let that person to be a supervisor, maybe it will be helpful to know what the criminals are thinking about, because the criminals might think of a variety of ways to get out of this place. So I think it will be very helpful to let this kind of person to be a supervisor. But on the other way, I think it will be quite dangerous, because maybe the supervisor will just ignore what the criminals are doing.
If they are doing the bad things.
Yeah, if they are selling the heroin,
The drugs.
the drugs, and maybe the supervisor also likes to take drugs. But he just pretend, oh, there's nothing happened in this place, and other people and other criminals just pretend. So let's pretend that this is a safe place, and we are very and we all follow these rules, so we are good criminals, so we didn't do any bad things, and maybe the government will trust it. So I think it's good, but it is also bad.
How about you, Teresa?
I slightly disagree with Mary because I think when they are putting a person who has this past records to be the supervisor, they all know that they have to take the risk, and there must be, because he's the supervisor, but there must be some other like police officers checking around the place all the time. So I don't think that will happen. The police officers or other authorities will make sure that the supervisor is following his jobs, following his duties. So I think it's okay to let the former sex offenders to be the supervisor.
How about you, Makeda?
I think that if the sex offenders behave good during the parole, during a parole, maybe we can consider that they can be a supervisor if he has a good record during the parole. So I won't against all the sex offenders from be a supervisor.
Also, as to me, I think that it is partly suitable for a person who committed the crime before to be a supervisor, because I think we can let the former sex offenders, maybe he, just like Makeda said, maybe he has done something very, he has conducted very good on parole, on his parole term. Maybe we can choose him or her to be the vice supervisor, vice supervisor, just like maybe we can have the police, just like Teresa said, we can have the police to be the supervisor in general, in charge, yes. And the former sex offenders to be the vice supervisor, and that they can cooperate with each other. Yes, because the former sex offenders, just like Mary said, he or she knows that what the criminals are thinking about.
Yeah.
So he or she can give kind of suggestion to the police officer how to deal with that situation. Yes, I think. Okay. Do you think Randy Wickham, the person charged for indecent exposure, should be sent to jail or sent to the institution helping people dealing with their mental problems? Because it is obvious that he did it since 9 and felt guilty, unable to control himself. Do you think Randy Wickham?
I think he shouldn't be sent to the jail because he doesn't actually do harm to people. Yeah, but maybe you'll harm their eyes. But the problem is he is obviously having some mental problems because he was doing it since he was 9 years old, and then he felt guilty about that. He wanted to be a good person, but he just couldn't control himself. So the thing is that maybe he should go to the institution that can actually help with him to change his behavior.
Michaela, how about you?
Oh, I think that we could send him to an institution helping people dealing with their mental problems, because I think maybe he has mental problems. So I think it is necessary for him to deal with his problem.
How about you, Mary?
I think maybe jail is not a suitable place for him. I think maybe he should see a doctor and to know what his real problem is, and so that the doctor can give him some help. Maybe just go to some place and some professional people will help him to overcome this kind of problem. So I think jail just let him stay at the same place for all day long, but without any help. So I think maybe he can go to see a doctor.
Yeah.
Also, I agree with what Mary has said and Teresa has said. I think he should be sent to the institution that's helping people dealing with their mental problems, because that in the video he says that he has that kind of desire about doing sexual behavior, sexual exposure, exposure his private parts to the public. I think he has. In the video, I think I observed that. I think he's kind of having problems in his mind. So I think it will be better to let him to see the doctor. Yes.
Okay. So this is the end of our discussion. Thank you, Mark.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.